Hi everyone, Kiah Twisselman here with the Kentucky Beef Council, and I am joined by my friend and favorite college professor from UC Davis, Dr. Frank Mitloehner. How's it going?
It's going well.
Well, I know that one of the New Year's resolution goals, and one that's actually a goal of mine as well, is to live a healthier lifestyle, which I think is something that we can all get behind, and maybe that means people being more active or eating a more balanced diet. But something else that I've heard this year a lot on social media is folks talking about not only wanting to be healthier this year for their bodies, but they also want to be healthier for the planet, which I think is something we can also get behind.
Sure.
But something that concerned me a little bit was some people thought that maybe the way that they would be better for the planet is by reducing or eliminating their consumption of red meat. Now, as a red meat advocate myself, I grew up on a cattle ranch. Obviously, I feel very passionate about red meat's role in a healthy, balanced lifestyle. What would you say to folks that maybe feel like that's the answer to reducing their carbon footprint or doing better for the planet?
Well, first of all, I totally buy into looking into one's diet and deciding whether that's the right one for yourself and the right one overall. Now, with respect to the environmental footprint of livestock, I think this is one of those areas where the public is very much confused. Because most people do not know that the vast majority of agricultural land used, for example, here in the United States, is what we call marginal. And marginal means that you cannot use it to grow crops. But instead, the only way that you can use that agricultural land is through grazing.
Okay.
So marginal means that either the soil quality is not good enough or there's not enough water available to grow crops.
So it's not something where we could say, okay, let's get rid of cows and plant broccoli in all the pastures.
No. The vast majority of that land is not suitable to grow vegetables, fruit, or grains, or anything else.
So essentially we're taking this land that can't be used for any other purpose, essentially, and turning it into that delicious beef product.
The beautiful thing about ruminant animals using that marginal land is that they can make use of non-human edible food, such as grass and legumes and so forth, and they convert that non-human edible food into high-value protein.
Right.
And so if we were to forego meat, like some people advocate for, then what would happen? Then we would not make use of a resource, namely 2/3 of our agricultural land, and we would not be able to convert this non-human edible resource into a very high value protein source for human consumption.
Another thing that I've heard is that cattle, beyond just using this marginal land to convert that grass that we can't consume into delicious protein, is that they also are pretty good recyclers or upcyclers of some other products as well. And here in Kentucky, one of our byproducts that we have is, this is bourbon country, right?
Of course it is, yes.
And so we take corn and other grains and turn it into bourbon, but what's left is that mash build, and those products, the leftover from the bourbon making distillation process, we can then feed that to cattle instead of throwing it away and wasting it. So our cattle here in Kentucky are bourbon fed.
Well, not just that they're bourbon fed, we all know that happy cows come from Kentucky, and this is why.
Yes, exactly. I think it makes me a little bit nervous when people want to eliminate an entire category from their diet, you know, especially a protein like beef that has 10 essential vitamins and nutrients packed into one 3-ounce serving. I think that, and not that many calories. I think it's a really important power food, and I don't think people should feel guilty about eating it.
Well, you know, what many people don't understand is there are the so-called energy-rich foods.
Yep.
And then there are the so-called nutrient-dense foods. So what we are not deficient of in the United States is calories. I think everybody would agree that we have enough calories, and most of us show it. Because we eat diets that are too high in calories, in energy. So for example, a diet high in sugary stuff is one that has empty calories, meaning a lot of energy, but not the nutrients we need to build muscles and so on.
Right.
So what animal protein gives us is a conversion of non-human edible feedstuff into highly valuable and nutrient-dense products. Nutrient-dense to an extent where they are perfectly aligned with our nutritional needs with respect to essential amino acids, calcium and iron and vitamin B12 and so on. If you think of our entire food supply chain in a country like the United States, then the greatest contributor to environmental harm is not what happens on the farm. It's not what happens related to the transportation of goods to the consumers or to the supermarkets or so, but the number one environmental harm of our food supply chain is food waste. We are wasting 40% of the food produced in the United States.
Wow.
40%. And what's staggering is the 40% food waste does not just occur in the United States and other developed countries, like European countries. It even occurs in countries like Kenya or Ethiopia or so. So African countries, developing countries. But they're for different reasons. In the developing world, food waste occurs because people cannot get the harvest of the fields on time. Or they don't have cooling or preservation capabilities. Whereas the food waste in the United States occurs more at the consumer level.
Right.
You know, you get that gallon of milk out of your fridge and you check the date and you see the date has been reached and you throw it away. But this is actually the sell-by date. It's not an expiration date. But people think it is and they throw it away. 40% is incredible, and I just want to add one more thing.
Yeah, please.
Food waste does not look the same across food groups.
Okay.
Fruits and vegetables, which are very perishable, are wasted in the United States at a rate of 50%. 50.
Wow.
Meat and dairy at a rate of 20%.
Oh, wow.
That's not to say that 20% is great and we should just rest,
stop there.
You know, and stop there.
Right.
We shouldn't. 20% is still too much.
Yeah, definitely.
But 50% is ridiculous.
Just thinking about all the time, energy, and resources that those farmers and ranchers put into producing that food for our table, and then 40% of it is thrown in the garbage.
You know, always remember, when you point your finger at somebody else, 3 fingers point back at you.
That's true.
And so I do really think about the way that I eat, the way that I waste, the way that my family does it, the way I communicate that to my students and to the public at large.
I think I'm going to waste less and be more mindful of the amount of food I buy, the way that I store food. I think that is a noble goal and a way that I think all of us can help contribute to helping save our planet in a small way. I
totally agree. And I don't think it's a small way. I think that's a major way.
You're right. I mean, 40%, we've got a lot of progress to make.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your wisdom today. This has been so fun, and I haven't crashed the vehicle yet, so I think we're doing good.
I'm very thankful of that too.
All right. Thanks. We'll see you all later.
Okay. Bye-bye.